What's great about the internet today is that whenever you want to start something, there's so much information out there to help you get started and to avoid the pitfalls that other people have made. But no matter how much you watch those videos, you will always find your very own way to mess it all up. Welcome to Keto is the Worst, where I believe that if done properly, a ketogenic diet is not only healthy, but it is sustainable long term and not at all restrictive. So today I am talking about mistakes. The mistakes that I have made when I first started and throughout the past year of doing a low carb diet. If you type in to any search, you will see a whole bunch of these videos of the most common mistakes, and I don't really want to get into that. What I do want to get into is just my mistakes and things that I wish I avoided. Because early on, when I was watching all those videos, and there are a lot of mistakes that I did avoid, and then I found new ones that are personal to me. So in today's video, I'm going to go over 3 of them, and I hope that they can help you out in some way, shape, or form. While I was writing this list, I did realize that there are mistakes that fall into 3 different categories. It's the ones that I made, and then there are mistakes that I avoided because of the videos that I did watch, and I was a little bit more vigilant about avoiding those. And then those are the tips that I watched, I did, and were completely useless, right? So this might be a 101 or this might be a 1 of 3. We'll see how this goes. The first mistake that we want to get into is doing a little bit too much, a little bit too soon. Why do I say that? When I started keto, I actually had it in my mind that I wanted to do vegan keto. And the reason I did that was because years ago, when I did do a vegan diet for a little while, I started to realize how plant-based and whole foods made your body feel. And I had actually lost 20 pounds through that time. So I wanted to do it again, but I wanted to try this keto thing as well. So I got in my head that I wanted to try putting both of them together. Now, it can be done, and I have some recipes that are vegan keto, but for somebody who is not low carb and who has been eating meat for a very long time, putting them together at the very start is a very bad idea. And that is what I want to get into, because after a week of doing that, I was ready to throw out the entire diet and saying none of this works. I remember that I was having mashed cauliflower with some type of like vegan cheese or mayo, portobello mushroom that was grilled, asparagus, and then avocado. And I had that for a couple of days, and then I had my chia seed pudding. But after a while, I was done with that. So I retooled, came back, and said I'm just going to do keto right now. And that's a very specific story to me. I'm pretty sure that most people starting keto do not want to also go vegan. But this is a good way to get into the general topic of focus on one thing at a time, right? What goes with keto a lot is intermittent fasting, and I did do those at the same time, but I started fasting about 2 weeks prior, so I was getting into the flow of that. It took months for me to actually understand intermittent fasting completely and be able to do it day in, day out, but having that little leg up and not doing 2 things at the same time that you have absolutely no idea was beneficial. So I'm not against the combination of intermittent fasting and keto. Actually, I'm on hour 34 of a 48-hour fast as I'm filming this. In general, what I believe, that don't do too much, don't introduce too many new things into what you are doing. A tip that I saw a lot when I was starting was don't exercise and start keto at the same time. And that's not true. The truth to that is, if you're not exercising and you want to start keto, don't do both at the same time. Start one and then give it a few days or give it a couple weeks and then start the other, because keto will drain some energy, but if you're already used to working out, it's not going to do anything more. This is actually a very good diet for that. The idea is don't overload your body with too many new things, just focusing on one thing and you should be fine. The second mistake is buying too many keto products from the start. And this is something I was guilty of. This is something that I see a lot of people who just start are guilty of, is that you cruise the aisles or you shop on Amazon for anything that says keto, anything that says low carb, And to begin, that's not really necessary, because all you really have to focus on is cutting out the carbs in your life. You don't have to replace them with new keto products, right? You don't need the MCT oil, you don't need keto shakes, keto bars, collagen powders. What else is out there? In my last video, I told you I don't do fat bombs. You might look at a lot of keto bacon and get into the coconut flour and the almond flour, or anything cauliflower, crust, rice, mashed. Now, that's not to say there's no place for those things in a ketogenic diet. I still do use a couple. So that's not to say that you can't have any of them. I'm just saying that it's not the price of entry. So you don't need to have all these things just to say I'm going to start. You can just start today or start tomorrow. Just figure it out, right? For me personally, it was a keto shake, where I was very used to having protein shakes after every workout. So I wanted to find one that the macros were a little bit different. So I wanted to find a protein shake that was higher in fat and less in protein. And I would still highly recommend that protein shake, or that fat shake, I guess you can call it. But I just don't use it anymore. It was absolutely delicious, and if it fits in your routine, or if this is what you're looking for, absolutely go buy it. But you don't need it in your first week. You can gauge what you need and slowly incorporate more and more things that are keto products, that are keto friendly, and you'll find that it's not really all that different than what you're doing right now. You don't need to add an entire grocery aisle into your kitchen, into your pantry. And now my third keto mistake that I personally made was not meal prepping. So it took me a little while at the beginning to get into meal prep and into meal planning. And again, I'm sorry to bring this back up, but it had to do with when I was vegan, that anywhere I went, I could find something that had no animal products, right? If Chipotle had burritos and rice bowls that I can have, a lot of Chinese and Japanese restaurants would have a General Tso chicken, like it was made from tofu, or eggplant and garlic sauce, and I can always have it over rice or noodles or anything like that. Domino's was pretty big for me, where I would just ask for a thin crust pizza, which is vegan, and no cheese, with a whole lot of vegetables, and the garlic butter sauce again, but it's like the garlic sauce that they have. And one of my favorite things was a vegan burger from Yard House. Anywhere I went, there were options. So when I started keto, I had that kind of mentality. I didn't know how to cook yet, or really just knew basic stuff in the kitchen. It wasn't a huge thing for me, and I wasn't really into meal prepping like that. I would just go out for lunch, buy something, come back. The world is not made for a ketogenic diet. The most consistent thing that I found were wings. So almost once a week, I will go to Buffalo Wild Wings and have either mild wings or Parmesan garlic wings, which by coincidence was my last video. If you do want to watch it, I think it's on my left hand. Little plug. But that is pretty much it, because you can always have a salad from wherever you go. Add guac, ranch, steak. It can be a salmon salad, or even Chipotle. You can load it up with sour cream and cheese and whatever, the guacamole, which is extra. And I know that there are lettuce wraps out in the world, or burgers that use lettuce as a bun, but let's be serious, that is a ground beef salad. That is not a burger. That is just a long-winded way of saying meal prep. Plan out your meals so you're not going out into the world without a plan, because if you do, this diet becomes a lot harder. When you go to the supermarket, make sure that you have an idea of what you want to have throughout the week, and chop it up, make it up. Okay, what? And loading it up. It's 4, it's not 3. That's unfortunate, because I have no idea where I said that I was doing 3. That leads me to my fourth and final mistake, which is too much fat. If this is not your first video about the ketogenic diet, I'm pretty sure you've heard people talk about keto being a halt. Now my fourth and final mistake is having too much fat. And that might fly in the face of a lot of advice you've already heard, where this is an ultra high, super high fat diet, or you need to get all the fats in that you can. That is just simply not true. This is a higher than normal diet, and it's where you're getting most of your calories from fat, but it's not eating an entire brick of butter, or it's not having gross amounts of fat. You don't want that. What it is replacing your carbs with good healthy greens and adding a few handful of nuts, an avocado, cooking with some olive oil or avocado oil, and that's pretty much it. You don't need to add cheese to every meal or sour cream or ranch dressing everywhere, which was my mistake. And at the beginning, I was putting that on everything. My salads were, you couldn't see the greens in my salads. And I was making sure that I was having cream cheese with almost every snack, or you get the idea, right? And I have never thought of myself as lactose intolerant until those first 3 months of keto, because of the amount of dairy that I was having, trying to add those fats in. It is honestly not necessary. So what you're doing is, let's say, just replacing a potato, which is 40 grams of carbs, with a handful of nuts, or even dark chocolate is pretty high in fat, or what's that other thing that you can add? Or an avocado, right? If you do that, that's not all that much fat, and you're taking away a potato. That is still a little bit under being ketogenic fully, but you get the picture. Take out a potato, add in the avocado and some nuts, and now you're living a low carb lifestyle. That's really it. When I started, I did not do that. I did not take this advice because I was using like the full fat coconut oil, the one that comes in the can and it's like sludge, and I was using MCT oil, which is not a terrible product. It's just not needed in my opinion. And yeah, like too much cheese, too much cheese. So, and that's it. Those are the mistakes that I made. There are plenty more probably, but these are the ones that I wanted to talk to, and hopefully you can avoid them too. Thank you for watching, and if you are interested in joining me as I learn more about keto, the science behind it, and what works and what does not, recipes and how to include them into your meal prep and meal plans, consider subscribing. The button's going to appear somewhere in the middle of the screen in about 10 seconds or so. Or you can check out me on my Instagram and my website at ketostheworst.com, and I will see you next time. I feel like I'm repeating words, I just don't know which words I'm repeating. The coconut flour? Did I say cauliflower flour? Oh no, I did not. That would be very weird, and I would know that. I do that a lot. A little head tilt.